Terry.
Yeah, there's nobody here. Just me. Hello, hello. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started, so that we can go through everything and get Terry home to rest and get everybody else back on the road before it's too late. So thank you for coming. I appreciate the last minute. We were just looking, October's just busy for everybody, so this turned out to be a day that was worked for the majority of people, so that's why we're here, so thank you. I am Tracy Wilson. I think met most of you, talked to most of you, emailed Stacy Cully at the end. She's been sending invoices and information as well, so welcome and thank you for coming. Before we get started, these are some of your fellow travelers here. If Terry, will start with you and go around. If you introduce yourself and where you're from.
Terry Cook, I'm from Mount Vernon, and I've been an accountant for a long time.
Jane Hillenbrand, Evansville, all my life.
And an accountant.
Yeah.
I'm LaDonna Jevons. I'm a retired nurse, and I am from Casper, but I've lived here since I was out of college.
I'm Carol Meyer, and I am from Jasper.
Oh,
Well, actually, I live in Ireland.
Oh,
I have a Jasper
that's okay.
address.
That's okay.
And I'm still working part-time as the Director of Real Estate for Service.
Erin Blankenberger, Newburgh, and I'm an industrial hygienist for Kaiser.
Sean Mormon, New Harmony, and Half Harmony Law.
Dawn Mormon, New Harmony, and I teach nursing at USI.
Good for you.
All right. So yeah, so I think some of you know each other. We have a group of friends, so welcome. We do have Mary, who wasn't able to be here.
She's on the boat.
Hey, Mary. And then the Walshes, who are friends with the Mormons, who are actually flying from Canada. So hello to you. All right. So we will go through the information. I'll go through the packets. I'm not going to read everything word for word. This is your travel investment, so please, make sure you read through everything. I'm going to go through the important information. I'm going to make sure everybody's comfortable with what's included for your tour to Iceland, and then we'll cover questions. So first thing that we'll do is we'll go through your packet. This is provided by Colette. I like this little packet just to keep all my important papers, my passport, and everything together. So I know I can kind of look for this green color and find it easy. We have your name tag. This is for on tour. You do not have to wear this through the airport. This helps the tour manager to get to know you and your fellow travelers. So there are a total of 12 who booked through Toursy. There are going to be approximately 38 to 40 people total on tour who will be under the same tour manager. You'll be on the same motor coach. You'll have the same itinerary as the rest of those on tour. So they could be from Europe, they could be from Canada, they could be from the United States, or Australia, New Zealand. So great way to meet people from all over the world. So that is when you're on tour. In the little side pockets, you will have a name tag, and you will slide that out and fill that information with your personal data. This is important. I know some of you probably have luggage tags that you use, but we ask that you put this on your bag as well, because this is how the tour manager, the motor coach driver, the hotel staff are going to know that you're a part of the Colette tour. And then when you arrive, you will be getting a paper tag. For those of you who've traveled with Colette before, we used to give you those paper tags beforehand. Now you put them on your big check bag as well, and that's for the tour manager, driver, and hotel staff to deliver your bags to your room. So what that means is when you arrive, you'll take your luggage off the carousel. We'll go through your transfer information, but once you get on that transfer, you will not have to handle your big checked luggage again, and go to your rooms. And that's what that paper tag's for. They'll write your number on there. You will also find 2 business cards, one for Stacy and one for Tracy. And I know most of you, we've contacted you before, but if you do need to reach out to us prior to departure, those are in there for that. Yeah, it's a little side pocket. Okay. So then we'll take out our paperwork. So you'll have your booklet. We'll go through that last. You have a hotel sheet, an emergency contact sheet, and this is for you to leave home for your emergency contact. You have this in your booklet as well, but that will let people at home know how to reach you. Now typically most of you have cell phones, smartphones, you'll be communicating that way, emails, that type of thing, but this is just in case they're not able to reach you. This number to call as well, if there's an emergency at home and they can't reach you, they can call Colette. Colette will reach out to the tour manager, who will then reach out to you. Okay. Here is a packing list. Now we can talk about weather. You're going at a time, the temperatures are going to be in 40s for the highs, 30s for the lows. So it's not extremely cold like it can be, January, February to do this tour. We are going to see the northern lights. That's the focus of the tour. We can't guarantee those sightings, but definitely between October and February, the nights are longer and darker, and that's why we pick going at that time for more optimal chance of seeing the northern lights. This doesn't mean you have to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe to, for warm weather gear. I've been in October and it's like the 40s here. I brought all the gear, but I didn't have to layer up. I brought the hand warmers. I never really had to wear those. If you want to bring those, definitely, of course, you don't want to be caught off guard. My suggestion, in the back of the booklet, it gives you average temperatures, but we all know that the way things are now, you just Google the temperatures before you go. So that's the best way to know what to expect. And if you have any questions looking through this, what they mean, mainly keeping warm, keeping your hands and feet warm, because you will be going out on some night excursions in search of the northern lights, so you want to be comfortable doing that. This sheet here, there's 2 sheets. Really, this doesn't apply to your tour. This lets you know if you need a vaccine requirement or testing requirements. Africa, Asian countries are really the only ones. You will see on the second page that says there, Europe tours, Iceland is considered Europe. There are no current travel requirements to travel to Europe. So that is good to know. And then this is something new for those of you who have traveled with Colette before. And I like this form. It's kind of intimidating. It's about air. Now we'll go through this more when we talk about air. For those of you who have been flying, for those of you who watch the news, air is not what it used to be. And I'm not saying that in ways of saying that you're not going to get there, knock back a piece of wood or plastic, but I'm knocking on it. Most flights this year have made it. There have been a few delays, not too many misconnections. I had weather-wise on the way home, people have had some issues. But this typically talks about, what to do if you miss a connection, what to do. And we'll go through this. Again, I won't read everything, but I'll highlight the important parts to this. I typically send out an about to depart note. And what I always say is what's in here. So it's nice that you have this now. I don't have to send you this lengthy email that goes through all of this. Okay, so that is all of the goodies in your packet. So we are gonna move to your travel booklet. You should see, oh, you have vouchers, that's for your pre-night. Okay, so what's gonna happen, so you're going a day early, so when you, we'll talk about your flight, your transfer from the airport to the hotel, and when you get to the hotel, you'll hand them that for your pre-night. Okay, so that's important to have when you check in. Okay. So that only those who are doing the pre-night will have that voucher, that extra piece of paper. Okay, so on the front of your booklet, you will have a reservation number, and that's the number that you've been seeing on the invoice this is Colette's number. This is Colette's way to say this is, you know, what tour you're on and all of your information. Make sure it's your name. You know, we've checked down here is your, who you're rooming with. And page numbers may be definitely for those of you doing the pre-night are going to be a little bit different than those of you who are not. So my page numbers may be different than what you have. But for all of us, once you turn inside, page 3 is a listing of what you've purchased. So if you've purchased a free night or a pre-night, that will be on there. We all wish we had a free night, right? The airfare, which is included in the cost of the tour package, the land and air travel protection, that's the insurance, and the arrival transfer, or the tour itself, Iceland's Magical Northern Lights, 6 days, arrival transfer, and that's for the regular tour dates, arrival transfer and departure transfer. So basically, you know, Stacy and I have gone through these. You know, what we've looked at, looks like everything in here is in order from our perspective, based on the reservations that you've made. But at any time after the meeting, if there's something that you see that you don't think is correct or want to question, please, we'll be here afterwards to discuss that. So then on the next pages, 4 and 5, emergency phone numbers. I'm not going to go through all of that, just know that this is the most important information in your packet that I hope you do not have to use. Basically, this is if for any reason you're on tour and you get separated from the group, or if you go and you're flying out and, you know, for some reason there's a misconnection, or there's any issues at all that you need to reach out to the Colette emergency team. It is manned 24/7, and if you have to leave a message, they do get right back with you. So I've used it lots of times over the years, and they are very reliable. All of you have purchased the insurance, so the insurance information is on this side. If for some reason there's an emergency and you need to use the insurance, if you have to cancel 24 hours prior to departure, let me know, let Stacy know, let Colette know. Your tour will be canceled. You'll get everything back except the cost of the insurance. However, if you're on tour and you know you have to see a medic, or something happens, or you know you have to come home early for an emergency, then that will kick in. Your tour manager will help assist with that as well when you get back. You know, in terms of, I can't fill the paperwork out for you. I'm not in insurance, but I can assist just knowing over the years what typical questions are, what kind of information. So I really won't go into insurance much, other than to say keep all your receipts. You know, I know you go on tour and you know you're just like, oh, I want to get rid of this. I don't want to carry this around with me. Anything that you think you might need, keep your receipts. For instance, if your luggage is delayed and you need to buy toiletries, you can only be reimbursed if you provide those proof of purchase. The same goes for boarding passes. If you've turned in American Advantage numbers, make sure that those miles show up on your on your Advantage site before you throw away boarding passes. And that seems old school. Yes, you can use your electronic boarding passes, but what I have found is people get home, you get busy, you get back to work, and a month later, you're like, oh, I really need to follow up on that. Sometimes that electronic stuff is hard to trace again once it's gone. So it's just easier if you have a hard copy of it. Okay. So, this is the part, Terry, you've just flown some of the supply, where you take a deep breath, and you know we are traveling through airports. We want to go to Iceland. The only way to get to Iceland from Indiana is by air. So I can sit here tonight and I'll go through information on air. By the time you depart, things could change. We do our best to stay on top of it for you, but a lot of times things that are in airline control, seats, schedules, those types of things, fees, that they are in airline control and they have the right to change those, and sometimes they do without prior notice. You are on an international tour, for example. As an international traveler, there should not be a fee for your checked bag. Now, if you're traveling domestically, there's a fee, but not internationally. However, if you come here on the day of departure and there's a fee, myself, we didn't add that, Colette didn't add that, the airlines added that. So just know that things change often with airlines. Okay, so I will, kind of look through your air schedules. We've looked through them. So those of you who are traveling together on the regular tour dates, you're all on the same flights. For those of you, Dawn and Sean, who are doing the pre-night. So what you'll see here on these flights, you're going to see your flights. You're going to see the date. You're going to see some confirmation codes at the top. Now, your air schedule is American Airlines with 2 connections through Iceland Air. Okay? So, pretty much your schedules are identical. They are identical, except they are leaving a day prior. But flight numbers are the same, times are the same. It's just they're leaving a day prior. So looking at the top, you'll see the reservation number. Again, that's that Colette number. That's noted by Colette. That is not your air numbers. Underneath that, you'll see airline confirmation code. You'll have a confirmation code, AA, that's American Airlines, and then the next one, FI, that's Icelandic Air. Now, many of you, probably most of you have traveled before. You've been on the apps. You go in with that record locator number to look at your seats, to see if you can, if there's any last minute upgrade deals, that type of thing. I will tell you that for the past month, 2 months, people will go in. I've got a group leaving for Ireland tomorrow, and I've been fielding calls all week. Had one right before I came here. They were using their confirmation codes. They're going in with their last name, and it's not pulling up. I've checked. When I'm here at the airport, I always check, and I'm like, why is this happening? I know that saying things with airlines, it's an airline issue, isn't a satisfactory answer, but I really have not come up with anything if you are not able to go in and do that, other than we've checked. Now, you may be able to go in fine, and hopefully that's the case, but just want you to know that we've been working with Colette. It's not just Colette, it's all tour groups that I've had, confirmation codes are just not pulling through. So, but please do, you can try to go in. Your seat numbers are listed on here. We have checked, except for Icelandic Air. Okay, now, American Airlines have assigned seats. We've checked if your roommates are sitting next to each other. Now, as a friend group, I don't know the four of you, but I know that your roommate is next to each other. With Icelandic Air, go into Icelandic Air, and you can should be able to type in your confirmation number and see your seats there. But there are airlines, I know most of you probably did not read this little bitty print on the red form here, but it does state, somewhere on here, please be advised, many airlines do not provide advanced seat assignments until check-in at the airport. Okay, Icelandic Air is one of those. You may be able to go in online. You have seats. More than likely, your seats are together. It's just that Icelandic Air did not provide those advanced seat assignments. Okay, when you check in, they should be able to give you that information.
Tracy, when you say check-in, you mean here at Evansville, or when we get to Raleigh, Durham?
So either typically checking in here.
Okay.
Yes. So some of you will go on your phones and check in. Now, I will tell you that some people have been trying to check in with these numbers and they are not able to check in 24 hours in advance. I'm trying to find out why that is. I'm just not sure why that is. But if you come to the airport, all you have to do is hand them your passport. You're in the system, so to say. There's no live ticket. Hand them your airport, everything pulls up, and then you can ask them at that time. Now, that's if American Airline and Iceland Air reciprocate their information. They may or may not be able to give you that. But I would just check along the way, so you land in Charlotte, and if the agent here in Evansville couldn't give you an answer, check with someone in Charlotte. Let's see. Looking at connection times, you have plenty of time.
That's on
Before, you found it on yours?
Yeah,
Okay,
hold up.
okay, good deal, good
there. They
deal.
were all under the same reservation number.
Yes, so that's important to note too. Now, you won't be, you're going a day early, but a lot of times, like, there may be more than just your name on that confirmation code. So if you do an upgrade on your seat, make sure you're doing it for yourself. Otherwise, you've made a great brand new friend who's like, yeah, thank you for the upgrade. Make sure that your name, under passenger name, matches your passport. So that's the name that you gave us when you made your reservation. That's what we've made your air ticket reservation under. We send invoices in bold, please verify your name. But if you get home and you find that doesn't match your passport, let us know at once. Okay. In looking at the air schedule, there was a day prior to the pandemic where we had this great little flight back and forth to Chicago. We'd fly from Evansville to Chicago, 6 hours flight over to Iceland. Well, that flight does not exist any longer. So, that was mainly a business flight, not a lot of people, business travelers, as many as there were. So we can thank Zoom for that flight not being here. So, any questions on the air schedule itself?
Does Icelandic Air have an app too, just like the?
Yeah, yes, they should. Now, I can't say that I've gone on and looked at it, but yes, they should. All right, page 9, I believe, or the page that has this statement here. That's a very legalese way to say you should have trip insurance, and you do. So I will not go through that.
Tracy, do we eat on Iceland Air?
You do, and it probably doesn't list anything. Oh,
It says meals, food for purchase.
food for purchase.
Okay.
Yeah, that one is food for purchase. I'm not sure, and I'm gonna guess it's gonna be the same So that's departure and that's return. I'll verify that that's
That's
food for purchase. Well, that's good for me to know as well, but I'm gonna guess since it says on the one, food for purchase.
When you see that,
Oh, right there.
Down at the bottom.
So yeah, that may be a good indicator to load up on lots of, snacks before.
That's a departure one.
It's a 6-hour flight. It's better than, you know, typical European flights that are 7 to 8 hours, but it's still 6
I
hours,
know.
so.
I know, but I'm just saying, this one, you want that one. Length of flight.
oh, that's only, you're saying
It's only on that one.
Okay, so, with that being said, before we move on, this form right here, that was in your packet, air travel, airport transfer, lost luggage, information, cheat sheet. This just tells you, it in a condensed version, please read this thoroughly. Well, here's my question as well. I know that you'll be going on your own. Do you feel comfortable? Do you need us here to assist through airport? Is there anybody that feels like they would need assistance through the airport? Otherwise, okay. And you'll have the group. I mean, you'll know each other here. I will be available. Stacy will be available. You have our cards prior to departure. The moment your flight takes off from Evansville, you are officially in Colette's control. The airline's in Colette. So if you call me, that's perfectly fine, but ultimately I'm gonna connect you to the emergency line at Colette, okay? If there's a flight delay, a flight cancellation, you know, if you're here at EBV and your flight's not leaving, I'll work with the emergency team and be in communication with you. But once you're on that flight and you land in, let's see, your flight is Charlotte, and you're in Charlotte and your flight to Raleigh, there's an issue, that's when you call, well, first line of action is to work with the airlines. Because again, your ticket is in airline control. So you're gonna go to the agent and say, hey, here's my schedule. If this happens, you know, then this connection is missed. And then they will work with you to reroute you and take care of that. Now, if you don't get anywhere with the agent, the airline agent, call the emergency number and say, hey, this happened, and then they can see what they can do on their end. But typically, it's the airlines who are gonna say, oh, let's get you on this flight instead. Also, if for some reason your flight is delayed, so you are going to arrive at 6:35 a.m. on the day that you arrive into Iceland, if you find that you're not going to be arriving near that time, you know, a little bit of difference is fine, but say you're gonna be an hour late, you need to call the emergency number to let Colette know to change that transfer. It's an hour, 45 minutes to an hour from the airport to the hotels in Reykjavik. So it's not just a matter of, you know, zipping back and forth with cabs, that type of thing. So it's really important if there is a delay to make sure you reach out to Colette's emergency team so that they know to adjust your transfer.
So they don't really check our air flights and stuff at all, really?
You know, these days, Stacy and I do, and if we see an issue, you know, for instance, you know, this was a return flight, you know, and they're on the way home, and it was a weather issue, and the airlines gave them hotel vouchers and meal vouchers, you know, so that really wasn't much for Colette to do. It was on the way home. The other day, had a couple heading to San Antonio. They missed, there was a delay out of Evansville. They missed their original connection. They were reconnected to San Antonio. You know, I called Colette once I realized that was the situation, and they're like, oh, that's, you know, funny, we just got off the phone, and they were aware of it.
Okay.
So, can I guarantee that they're monitoring every flight on every tour? We do our best, we're aware of it, so that we can call, you know, the emergency team, you know, and I don't want it to get to a situation where you're calling the emergency team. If you're calling the emergency team, and they'll let me know, so-and-so's already called in, we're on top of it, and we're making that communication. But I always like to call in to make sure that they are aware of it, and if they aren't, then I'll give them numbers so that they can reach out to you directly. But we do our best to stay on top of things for you. But ultimately, you know, connections, delays, misconnections, that type of thing, we try our very best to make sure we're on top of that. Now, if you go down to the next one, so that's, you know, cancellations, delays, those types of things because of the airlines. Missed flights. So that's not as easy. You know, you overslept, you missed your flight. That, you know, the airlines will probably, basically right here, it may result in the cancellation of that whole ticket and having to repurchase a new one. So I guess the moral of that story is we understand if the airlines and weather and that type of thing cause issues, but don't cause the issue yourself. You know, being late. You know, if you're at an airport, I mean, you have plenty of time to your connections, but don't decide to go and sit down at a meal when it's close to boarding time, that type of thing. Then what to do if you need assistance. There's the emergency numbers. We've kind of talked about that. Everybody here has booked their air through Colette, so you don't have to read through that section if it wasn't booked through Colette. If it was booked through Colette, we've kind of just gone through that. You know, they have a couple of different tips in there as well. Lost luggage. The main thing with lost luggage is don't leave the airport until you have it resolved. So when you check in, you're gonna get the electronic tag that tracks. You may have air tags, those are helpful too. But in terms of the airport, they'll get to have that tag, or the electronic that they'll give you when you check in that tracks where your bag is. Don't leave the airport without, I mean, just, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just deal with it. I don't wanna miss my transfer. I'll deal with it when I get to the hotel. Well, by that time, it's a much more difficult issue. So, don't leave the airport until you have it taken care of. Contact the emergency service. You know, you have, now in this case, that would work for you with the transfer. Hey, we're working on lost luggage. Can you let the transfer company? Although you have information on how to contact them directly as well. So if that's the case, if it doesn't take that long, you know, they may have the transfer driver wait. Or it may be a situation that they schedule a separate time for a transfer, or they may ask you to grab a cab and keep your receipts, and you will be reimbursed for that, because transfers are part of your package. Okay. And we'll go through your specific transfers next. So please take time to look through this. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Okay, so now we are moving on to the transfers. I believe is that page 10 for you as well? Okay, so page 10. So transfer information is the same. Time-wise for everybody, it's just that you leave on the 3rd, arrive on the 4th, you leave the 4th, arrive on the 5th. When you arrive, so your 6:35 is your arrival time to the airport. You'll have time to grab your luggage, and then your transfer directions are here. Your transfer is at 7:30 in the morning. So you are gonna have time, grab your luggage, so that's about an hour. Make your way from the arrivals gate to passport control. Now I can't sit here and say, all right, you're gonna go in, take a left, go up, you know, escalator, that type of thing. Yeah, I don't have that specific information. Just follow the signs. If you're not sure where passport control is, typically you can, see where the crowds are going, follow the signs, and don't hesitate to ask, because airports change all the time. Their processes and where things are. Then you proceed to the baggage carousels after passport control. Collect your luggage. Once you've gathered your luggage off the carousel, go down the hallway through customs, then exit through the double doors. Your representative will meet you once you enter into the arrivals hall. And then there's the emergency numbers again. Now, I would say if you don't see them, at 7:30, but at 7:45, 7:50, then you might call, but you might, make sure in case there's any delays or anything of that nature. Now, what you will be looking for, someone's gonna have a Colette sign. I don't know that it's gonna be the tour manager, more than likely not, because it's about a 45 to 50-minute drive. So your flight's coming in at a certain time, other people will be coming in at a certain time. The tour manager isn't gonna be able to go back and forth on those transfers because of the distance it is. So it will more than likely be a transfer company, a representative holding a Colette sign. We'll probably have that Colette logo on the front. So they're looking for you, you're looking for them, they have your name, they know your flights, they'll have a clipboard and they're gonna say, name Sean, Dawn, and mark you off. It may just be the two of you, or there may be others who are flying at the same time. Same with this group. You may be going over just as this group on, a shuttle van, or it may be a motor coach if there are several people coming in at the same time. And then, so then you'll get picked up, so that means that you'll get to your hotel around 8:39, depending how long it takes to collect everybody and get back. Your rooms may be ready, typically that early, they're not. When you arrive, the hotels that you're at, Reykjavik is not a big city. So you can leave your bags, your check bags, you don't have to sit in the lobby and wait all day and not go out and do anything. They will securely store your check bags, your carry-ons, whatever you don't want to bring with you, so that you can go out and do some sightseeing until the room is ready. All right, on your return, so everybody's coming home at the same time on November 10th. It is 5:15 a.m. And that's because of the flight time. On international flights, they request that you be at the airport 3 hours early. Now, here in Evansville, I always say 2 hours regardless. If you want to be here 3 hours early, that's fine by me too. I'd much rather somebody be here on, and not have to worry and get through security. But when you're talking about an international airport like Reykjavik, you will need that 3 hours, and they will make sure that you're there 3 hours prior to coming home. So that means that typically, and in this case, I'm sure the breakfast buffet doesn't open until typically 6 a.m. They will have a boxed breakfast for you for your transfer. So you're going to be taking that hour drive back from the hotel, back to the airport. They will provide you with a breakfast. All right. Are there any questions on the transfers?
What about tips?
All right, let's see. Typically, they put in here that gratuities are included for your transfer drivers. Now, if you want to add, gratuities are always, they're not a requirement. If you feel like they've gone above and beyond, then if you wanted to give them a little extra, that's perfectly fine. But typically, or in this case, gratuities are included for these transfer drivers.
28.
Yes, there is a page for tour managers. Does it include information on transfer drivers? Tour manager, local guide, motor coach. They typically do not mention them.
28, it says gratuities for baggage handling and wait staff gratuities for included meals. The tips are handled by us.
Okay.
By,
and-
I think that means,
Right,
Collect.
and yes, and that means, you know, anytime they're handling your bags on tour, gratuities are, you know, when they bring your bags up, those gratuities are included. For the transfers,
Oh, I was just gonna say, I looked up, it says for Iceland gratuities, it says it's general, it's not customary to tip in Iceland, however, it is also not illegal. Oftentimes you'll find many bills already have the gratuity or service charge added into it, and usually the charge, if you wanna pay, is 10%.
okay, and of course, we don't know the cost of.
No,
Of that. If you feel like you want to get, and the reason I'm saying that, most of the time we get these booklets, it'll say in there, gratuities are included. In this case, it doesn't say it in here, so I'm not gonna say that they're, I will check on that. But for the most part, gratuities, if it's something that's provided by Colette, those gratuities are already covered. The rule of thumb, if Colette's providing it, gratuities are included. If it's not Colette providing it, then you know, as Stacy mentioned, typical for the country.
Tracy, you might be going to cover this, but do we need to get any Corona to take?
Yes, and we will, that will be in another section, so yes, we will cover that in detail, yes. Page 11, all of you have passports, we wouldn't be here meeting tonight if you hadn't already provided your passport information. Please make a copy of your passport. It's much easier if you lose your passport or it's stolen to get that replaced, to get back through the airport if you have a copy of that. And when you have a copy of anything, whether it's a copy of your passport, your credit card numbers, you know, not with your security code, not the whole thing, but like if you, you know, 800 numbers, any copies that you have of anything important. So if I'm putting my original my passport in here in my documents and I make copies, don't put your copies in here either, because if this is lost, then it's all lost. Put them someplace separate so that if this gets lost, then you have that information somewhere else. All right. In 2024, just a heads up, there are going to be some European countries. You have to apply for an ETIAS visa waiver. That does not have anything to do with this trip right now. So you can, that doesn't start until next year. Customs and immigration, that's talks about how much stuff you're gonna bring back, how much it's worth. Okay, please note section. The Northern Lights cruise is weather dependent and may be postponed or canceled in the event of adverse weather or sea conditions. So that, we won't know that until you are actually there that day, whether that will run or not. The Northern Lights, September through April, are only visible when sky is clear and free of clouds. So you'd have to pay an extra $2,000 to make sure that there's no clouds. just kidding. We cannot guarantee that. We can't guarantee fall foliage on different tours, cherry blossoms, that type of thing. I will tell you, I've done this tour. The week before saw the Northern Lights. The week after saw the Northern Lights. The week I went, I didn't get to see the Northern Lights. But Iceland is so amazing that it would have been icing on the cake. But the sights that you were gonna see, it's the size of Indiana. So you're gonna see lava rocks, you're gonna see moss-covered lava, you're gonna see glaciers, you're gonna see volcanoes, you're gonna see waterfalls, hot springs, geothermal activity, just this whole array of scenery in this small amount, you know, in the time that you're going back from Vic to Reykjavik. No billboards, no trash, no street lights. So when it is nighttime and the skies are clear, you will see you will see the stars. You know, as long as it's clear, you'll see the stars and you'll see the northern lights. It's just that when you are out in Vic, you are really out, and it's not like being in a city here. So it is amazing scenery. You know, we do hope our best. You know, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that you see that, but it really is icing on the cake. There are some coaches. You know, you are not going to be on the motor coach that much. You're going to transfer from Reykjavik to Vic. You're going to spend your time looking for Northern Lights in Vic, which is the just beautiful area out, and then you'll go from place to place, but you're never on the motor coach for a very long time. So it's not like not having a laboratory in the vehicles that you're on in Iceland is an issue. They'll make sure that there are plenty of comfort stops if you need them. Most every place that you go to that you have a stop will have a restroom facility. We talked about hotel check-in. You may have to have your bags held. Icelandic breakfasts are continental. Yes, so the food, you know, there's a whole section on the type of food, but it is simpler fare, typically at the lodge in Vic, the location that you're staying at. It's buffet style. They have amazing soup. They have amazing bread and cheese. Now their traditional fare is a little unusual to our palates. There's going to be a lot of smoked things. There's going to be a lot of pickled things, a lot of fermented things, because it's an island and everything has to be shipped in. So they do those things to keep it. Now, and so it's not going to be what we're used to here when we say we're going to go to a buffet. It's not like Golden Corral. You know, one night we were excited about spaghetti. You know, we think of traditional spaghetti. Well, it was more along the lines of what you think of Chef Boyardee spaghetti. It was good, but it wasn't, you know, you go to Paris, you go there for the food. You're in Italy, you're gonna be disappointed if you get Chef Boyardee spaghetti. But in Iceland, you know, they're gonna have their traditional fare there, you know. I tried a little bit of it, you know, you'll get a chance to taste fermented shark. They had smoked horse tongue. Some really unusual things, but you know, try it. You're there, you know, you're there to experience Iceland and their culture. So just be prepared. They are also more expensive because it is an island and because their food is shipped in. So it's going to be about double of what you would think of getting a meal here. So you might think going, you know, Applebee's and getting a soup and salad, and you know, maybe, you know, $10, $13. It's probably going to be $20, $23 just for, you know, soup and a salad. So again, that's just because of their food situation and having everything brought in. You're not going to see McDonald's, Burger King, those types of things. There are plenty of restaurants in Reykjavik, and when you go out to all of the different places, so when you stop at the waterfall, they're going to have a place where you park, they're going to have a place where you can get a cup of coffee, soup sandwich, that type of thing, but there's not going to be fast food there when you make those stops. So this tour takes place in the winter. In our case, it's, you know, fallish heading into winter. So we've talked about, you know, the clothing that you'll be wearing. You know, I went you know, it's funny because the weather was perfect during the day. We saw all the sights. It was just at night when there was some cloud cover we didn't see. But, you know, it talks about adjusting itineraries and that type of thing due to weather. We've talked about the transfers. The activity level on this tour is a 3, which was in this as well. So, you know, you're an on-the-go traveler. It doesn't mean you have to climb mountains. Just and I will say most of the sites that you go to, for instance, one of the waterfalls, again, I can't pronounce what they are, but you'll visit a couple. You can go up to the waterfall. There are trails all around. You can walk. There's a glacier area where you walk these paths, and then you come up to a glacier that's 1 million years old. You know, it's this big, it's just amazing. Some people wanted to go walk and see that. It's not that far, but other people prefer not to. They just stay the area. So you can be as active in terms of going and seeing things that when you're there. The glaciers, the lava fields, the black sand beaches. So we've talked about that. Okay, these other please notes we've already covered. Your motor coach will have a Colette sign. Your tour manager will get you familiar with your specific motor coach in case there is another Colette tour there, or another motor coach, or another tour company there. All right, on the itinerary. This is, again, a very basic itinerary. It was the same itinerary that was in here. I'm not gonna read through it. I couldn't even, like, some of those words, but it's the itinerary that you booked. We don't give out detailed itineraries. Breakfast is at 8, 8 to 10, and we pick you up, because if that changes, then you've got several different times and listings, and it gets confusing. Your tour manager will either give you day by day or a couple days at a time on the specifics of what time things are happening, where, and how it's gonna work. Going through the itinerary, I believe page 17 is the exact same listing of that sheet with the hotels. These are very comfortable, but you are there to see, it's not the Crown Plaza. A fancy hotel. They're very comfortable, they're very nice, they're very clean. But they're there for comfort, and they're there for you to be able to go and get in and out easily, to go and see the sites that when you're in Vic, you're gonna spoke and hub out to the different sites and come back to the hotel in the evenings. There's typically a hot tub. I have not looked at this one to know if there's a pool, but the hot tub is given the weather there. And of course, a bar, a lounge area. Okay, page 18 talks about the survey. Used to be you'd go on tour and they'd hand you a paper survey to fill at the end of the tour. You're like, man, I gotta catch a flight tomorrow, I'm tired, I gotta repack, all of that. So they have found that it is more convenient that once you return from home, they'll send you a survey on the tour through the email that you provided when you made a reservation. We ask that you fill that out. It lets us know what works, maybe what didn't work, so that we can bring you more of what you want on future tours. There is a Colette Compass mobile app. So if you go to the App Store and type in Colette Compass, you download the app. It will ask for this number right here and your name. You type in the number and your name, and your whole itinerary pulls in. All of this pulls into that app. And what's nice about the app is it will let you know, in this case, when you're at your hotel in Vic, there's not going to be a lot of restaurants. You're pretty much in your area, and you're going to be going out at night looking for northern lights. But in Reykjavik, you may want to do some sightseeing, so it's going to let you know what's in the area, what hotels, what shopping, that type of thing. It also pulls in your air schedule, and it will give you notifications just like your American Airlines app will as well. It's nice sometimes. Sometimes you can have too much technology. You've got your American Airlines app, you've got this, you know, one phone's dinging that, you know, there's been a gate change, but this one hasn't caught up to it yet, so you're like, okay, which one, and, you know, just, you know, at that point, you know, to check gates, which you should always be doing as well, but it's just a really nice, app that pulls in all of your information. And it kind of explains what all is involved in that app. Okay, we're gonna get into travel tips. Again, I'm not gonna read everything. I know I'm gonna cover the important things. You know, everything in here is important. But, you know, me reading to you, you know, it's evening time. I don't wanna put you all to sleep. I'm gonna cover information, that is important, and then as you read through these things, if you have questions, let me know. So, powdered products, that first bullet, there are now limits on powdered products going through security. It's not just liquids anymore. So that tells you all requirements for getting through security, liquids, powders, firearms, whatever you are thinking of bringing is on the TSA site. So you can, you know, look, this is pretty thorough covering it, but you can always go to tsa.gov if you have more specific questions. The 311 rule, are we, you know, I'm not sure who's traveling when. I know you just came through the airport, so you know all about the liquids. Here at Evansville, you do still, if you don't have TSA pre-check, you still have to pull your liquids out. In Nashville, they have the technology now that you don't even have to pull your liquids out. But the quart size bag, you know, can't be gallon or snack size, and then you can fill this quart size bag as full as you can, as long as it closes, of liquids that are 3 ounces or less. So this is about an ounce. So whatever you can fit in here, you know, have that on top of your carry-on that you're bringing with you so that you can just pull it out. Okay. Any questions on getting through security? If you've, another thing that I will note, if you've provided us with TSA pre-check and American airline numbers, we have had those applied. Again, we've been having a lot of people checking in and saying they didn't, my boarding pass didn't print, or they printed at home. They're checking in 24 hours and it didn't show pre-check. It didn't show them as an advantage number. We're not sure what the disconnect is, but it's been happening a lot. So please, please, if you have a TSA pre-check number or an advantage number, bring it with you. So if you get your pass or your boarding pass and it doesn't show pre-check, you can give it and they'll apply it on the spot for you so that you can take advantage of pre-check. Pre-check is good for the United States, so that'll be good here in Evansville. It will benefit you internationally. Okay, things to consider, talking about luggage. Up to 50 pounds is your checked bag. I don't know that if you bought a piece of luggage in the past 10 years that you can even buy a piece of luggage that doesn't meet requirements anymore. It used to be you could, you know, any size would go. They don't even make illegal bags anymore. The main thing is the weight, 50 pounds per person. Make sure that you leave extra room for souvenirs. If you depart with 50 pounds, that means you'll probably be coming back, or you'll have to buy an extra bag for your souvenirs, that type of thing. You have to carry an extra carry-on. So they also talk about carry-on. So you have your checked bag that, now this is a shorter tour, so some of you may not have the checked bag. Some of you are going to be really good and able to fit everything into a carry-on. If you do that, congratulations. I haven't got to that point yet. If you check your bag, you've got your check bag, that's going to go, you know, it's going to go all the way through from Evansville to Reykjavik on the plane. You won't see that. You can bring a carry-on. That goes in the overhead compartment on the plane. You can bring one personal item that fits under your seat, and then if you have a CPAP machine, or something of that nature, a medical device, you can have that as well. Just remember, if you have a carry-on, a personal item, a medical device, that you're keeping track of that and carrying that through your connections. Is there anybody here with a CPAP machine? Okay, Stacy, I'll let you address that.
Oh, yeah, they will want you to have that out, so like, make sure you go through with that out, because I did that and they ripped my whole bag apart and handed it back to me all tore up, and that was in Nashville, but
Yeah.
yeah, and, yeah, that, and I didn't realize that.
Pardon?
You could-
You don't have to announce them.
You don't have to,
Okay.
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 That's-
So I guess that is just be prepared that maybe you do, maybe, you know, she's experienced that it has, but, yeah, hopefully you won't have to do that. Yeah, cause I had never mentioned that in these meetings before until she experienced that, so.
Make sure you take your water out.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, when you read about the carry-on, it says, cannot be bigger than 17 by 12 by 10. Well, that's not your typical carry-on, that's a lot smaller. The reason they say that, that's for the motor coach. You can have a regular sized carry-on, for the plane. Typically, you are not gonna bring your carry-on with you when your day-to-day travels. You're gonna probably bring a purse, a backpack, something of that nature for your wallet, your phone, whatever you need. So that carry-on can actually go on the undercarriage of the bus. The reason it says it's smaller is if you plan to bring a carry-on on the motor coach with you, because those compartments aren't as big as the plane. The only thing to note, the big check bag up to 50 pounds will go under, basically, they're gonna handle one baggage for you. So if you have a carry-on, but you're only using your personal day-to-day travels, you will be in charge of making sure that gets up to your room. So they'll take care of getting your check bag up. Label all of your bags clearly, personal items, anything that you're bringing, inside and out. It's much easier to reconnect with your belongings if you make sure they're labeled. The name on the tag should match the information on your reservation. So if you have a nickname, so for instance, someone who's not here, her name is Candace, but she goes by Candy. But they're saying she should fill it out as Candace because that's what they're looking for when they're looking for bags.
But you don't have to use your middle.
No. It's mainly, you know, and you know, Candy to Candace. It's like if somebody goes by, you know, Boo and their name's Mary, you know, something like that they wouldn't make that connection. Tour package land only. All of you are with air. Tour package air and land on page 21. All of your transportation is included. Transfers, air, is included with your tour package. Homeland Security, you know, that talks about your ID, your photo ID, the passport, we've talked about that. Talked about the frequent flyer, you know, keeping your boarding passes, we talked about that until you make sure the miles have accrued. It says whenever possible, adding air departure taxes to your invoice, that's all been taken care of. There aren't gonna be any added taxes on your air. Transfers, all of those are provided. There's some information on those. Your tour manager will let you know once you're on tour where those take place. Transportation, you know, you're flying, motor coach, otherwise. Accommodations, okay, you've got your list of hotels. A lot of this information would have applied before you made your reservation, double, single, triple, so I'm not gonna go through all of that. We talked about the check-in times, that if you arrive early, they'll keep your bags for you. Some require credit card imprint, you know, they do that here in the States as well. Clothing and packing tips. Okay, so we'll go through these here. So So they've given you some recommendations. It's definitely a casual tour, comfortable. You're gonna be out seeing the sights, okay? There's no dinners that you have to dress up for, nothing of that nature. Warm, comfortable, easy to get around. We've talked about that sheet. You're gonna look at that sheet, decide what you want to bring. Definitely look at temperatures before you go, because you're there to see the northern lights. You don't wanna be cold and miserable and wanting to get back to the room because you didn't have your warm clothing with you. Layers is always important. You can always, add or take off as you need. First layer should be silk, weight, long underwear, turtlenecks, jerseys, camisoles. Again, not gonna go through that. That's on that sheet of paper. A pair of fleece pants or Gore-Tex. I brought those. I didn't necessarily need those. I use them, we occasionally get snow every once in a while here. It wasn't like it was a wasted purchase here. They make those hand warmers. Those are always nice and inexpensive to bring, and they're not too heavy. Main thing is, you can move around, things that aren't gonna get wet and then wet and cold, that kind of, take the wet away. Socks, sock liners, and it goes through the fabrics that they recommend. Hat, scarf, gloves, anything that keeps you warm and comfortable. Rubber soled shoes are recommended. Yeah, when you go to the waterfalls, that type of thing, there's gonna be the mist and the spray, so you don't want anything that's got like a slick surface that you would slip with. If you do get new shoes for the tour, make sure you break them in before you go on tours to avoid blisters. Now, they say we recommend bringing an inexpensive pair of crampons. Those typically are gonna be for those really cold winter months when there's gonna be snow. If you want to purchase those, and they're good too, that if you wanna wear them, they're the things that you strap on that have the little spikes in them. There's plenty of time before the tour with Prime, if you're on Amazon, to get a pair of inexpensive ones. What I did is I got them and then I keep them in the car in the winter in case I need them. More than likely you won't need them, but I don't want you to not get them and then get there and find out that there's an unexpected snow. You know how it is in Colorado. You could go there one day and it's perfectly warm, and then the next day there's snow on the ground. So you go to the Blue Lagoon. That's the hot thermal area. It says bring a swimsuit. Now, if you're not comfortable bringing a swimsuit, people will get in shorts and a t-shirt. That's perfectly fine as well. You don't have to have a swimsuit per se, but you will have to have, something, that it's like a very warm thermal pool. It's a really neat area. But yeah, you definitely will want that. They'll have a locker room that you can change in and leave all of your other things there. Toiletries talks about making sure if you have your liquids in your carry-on, but if you're bringing liquids in your check bag, just make sure that they're wrapped so that they don't leak over your clothes if something breaks. If you use a washcloth, not all hotels in Europe provide them. Go to the Dollar Tree, get a couple, and then that way you don't even have to worry about bringing them back with you, because they won't be inexpensive if you prefer a washcloth. Prescription medication. So if your prescription, if it's easy enough for you to do and bring it in the actual prescription bottle, that's easiest. But I know some of you have like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that kind of thing. That's fine as well. Make sure you take a picture of the prescription bottle with the picture of the pill. I used to think that that was like for security, and I'm like, what security agent is gonna like match pills to prescription bottles? But it's for your safety, so that if something happens on tour, or, you know, at the airport, they know what medications you're on. So that if a doctor is involved, they'll know what medications you have, what they look like, but you know, what interactions, they might have with other medications or whatever they may be, you may be needing. If you have anything of value, keep it with you. Don't put it in your checked bag in case it is lost or delayed. The next couple of things, basically recommendations on to bring in a nutshell. If it has a cord, bring a cord. If it has to be charged, bring the charger. You know, it talks about travel alarm clocks, that type of thing. Most people these days use their phone. You can set, you know, sometimes I'll set 2 alarms, sometimes I'll set my alarm. You know, anymore, having a wake up call from the hotel isn't as reliable as it used to be. So,
And their plugins are like ours, we don't have to.
yeah, yes, and we'll get it. Well, the adapters are not. We'll get into that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Does the time change over there? I think that's probably a dumb question.
Yes, no,
But
it does, and it's listed in here.
Okay.
How, what the time difference
Time
is.
change here. Okay.
Oh, now their time is different, but there's not the time,
They
like
don't
we
just
go
say
through the
on
time
I bet
change.
they don't just say.
That's what I'm-
No,
It's
yes,
surprising
exactly.
if they did,
Yeah,
that's
that's
why.
what it's called, daylight savings. No, they don't do that. But if, you know, that will happen, and then we'll adjust. But it'll tell you the time difference. So, and that is good to know too. Whenever you are, like your air schedules, whatever the time you land or you depart, that's in the local time of the airport that you're in. You don't have to do, you know, time travel to figure those times out. If you are traveling with a companion, it's suggested to divide the contents of your suitcase so that if one is delayed, the other bag has each other's items in there. Don't overpack. They've already talked about washcloths. Okay, is there anything about packing? We're going to talk about currency. We're going to talk about voltage here. Anything with clothing and packing or luggage. Okay. And just know too, you can always, if you read through this and have questions, you can always give me a call, email, and we'll cover that. Helpful hints. The STEP program, Smart Travelers Enrollment Program. There is a website, www.travelstate.gov. That's just an added layer of protection. We know you're in Iceland. The airlines know you're in Iceland. Colette knows you're in Iceland. This guarantees that the government, the United States of America, knows that you're in Iceland. You know, this would have been a situation like when they had the volcanoes there. You know, it just is another way to keep track of where you are, you know, who's there, who's gotten home safely, that type of thing. So, you know, not to bring up negativity, Israel is not affecting this tour at all, but for those people who were in Israel, it's a popular destination, especially a pilgrimage destination. You know, this would have been, you know, that was very helpful in evacuating tourists. Cell phone carriers, a list of entities to contact before you depart. Everyone has a different cell phone carrier, and I can't speak to all of them. Most of them have an international day pass, which is $10 a day, talk, text, you know, is pretty all-inclusive. Depending on what you plan to do while you're gone, it's not an extremely long tour. Some of you may just hook up to the free Wi-Fi in the hotel. Just know that you're out touring all day and everybody gets back to the hotel at the same time. Everybody's logging on to the Wi-Fi. So it may not, and you are out. Of course, the whole nature of this tour is to be in nature, to be out so that you can see, you know, cell phone reception is okay, but again, when you're out like that and everybody's in one location and everybody gets back and there's only Wi-Fi at the same time, it may not be as quick. So, the International Day Pass, it's $10 a day. The minute you landed, you'll get a text that says, welcome to Iceland, your day pass is starting. That's if you connect to Wi-Fi outside of free Wi-Fi areas. But definitely check with your carrier to see if there are other options that might work better for you. Call your credit card company. They are keeping you safe. They are monitoring your credit card. You live in Indiana. If they see that you're in Charlotte or Iceland, it triggers them. But if you have a travel alert on your card, just call the 800 number. Typically there's a website on the card too to contact to make sure you let them know when you're gone and where you're gonna be. And then that way, more than likely, they won't put a stop to those charges.
Tracy,
Uh-huh.
have you ever had to use a PIN number on a credit card when you were in Iceland?
Not on a credit card, no. Now, if it's a debit card.
Oh, I
it-
understand the
Yeah,
debit,
yeah, it
but-
works the same there, but no, I haven't on a credit card. So that brings up, it talks about ATM cards. There's a whole other section here on currency, which we'll talk about. ATM cards work the same there as they do here. If you are using an ATM card to get cash, there will be a fee. There's gonna be the currency exchange fee, the difference, and then there's also gonna be a fee. You know, I have a bank card. If I go to my ATM that's not associated with that bank, there's gonna be a fee. For those of us that are familiar with the Yellow Tavern, you know, if you don't have the card back there and you've gotta get cash, there's gonna be a couple dollars fee to get cash, so just be aware of that. So, you know, here, you know, you pop in and, you know, I'll get 20 here, 20 here, 40 here. Well, that's gonna add up with fees, so, if you do get cash there, you know, kind of plan it out so that you're not hitting it a lot. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. Leave you a copy of your itinerary, hotel list at home. Leave a copy of your passport at home. And during your flights, make sure to stand up and walk around. So these are not in any particular order. You know, you're talking about ATM cards and then walking around during flights.
And wear,
Compression?
yes.
Compression socks, yes, yes. Okay. Almost there. Electricity. So you are traveling to Iceland, considered Europe. So for the most part, cell phone chargers, any really new device is going to be dual voltage. So you don't necessarily, so you have a converter that converts the electricity. You don't necessarily need that. Now you can still get a pack of, you know, that with a converter that converts the type of electricity. But the most important thing is the adapter. So this is what you were talking about. So you can see this side here is what you put your American plug in. And then that's what the wall outlet looks like there, and you put that in. And I will let you pass that around. Typically it says Europe on that, so if anybody doesn't happen to have that and you need to get one. Amazon, I used to always say Bed Bath & Beyond, but they're not open anymore. Walmart, CVS, any place you can get an inexpensive one. If you don't want to bring an adapter, the adapter, I recommend if you use a heating element, a curling iron, a flat iron, hot curlers, anything of that nature. You know, typically people don't travel with an iron. I know some people have like the little steamers, that type of thing. Anything that has a heating element, I do recommend having the converter so that this changes the electricity type. You know, I use a you know, a straightener and a curling iron, but I have purchased specific for travel that have the dual voltage that doesn't require that.
Are hair dryers in the rooms?
Yes, yes. Now, they may not be powerful, they may be the little bitty, you know, the little ones, but they do have them, yes. Okay, if you bring a sleep apnea machine, CPAP machine, anything of that nature, bring an extension cord, because sometimes hotels don't necessarily have all of the plugs like we do at home. So you may, you know, there may be plugs by the bed, or they might be by the desk, and they may not necessarily reach. Anything on electricity?
I'm still stumped, the difference between a converter and an adapter. The adapter, you plug your American plug into that little black thing and into the wall. But doesn't that other one do the same thing?
No.
No, it changes from 110 to
220.
20.
That's what this does.
Okay, got it.
This adapts your plug to fit into the wall.
Right, that's all it
This
does.
changes the electricity from
Got it.
220 and 110. And if you do go without this, a lot of hotels, you can just go to the front desk and say, and borrow one.
Oh, okay.
So the 3-plug though, it's gonna stick below there.
Say that again?
Most plugs have the ground on the bottom, so
Oh.
it's gonna be open on the bottom.
Let me check. I'm not sure what I've done with those. Because if you do, like the CPAP machines probably do have the 3 prongs, right? If you've got something, no, just the 2 prongs?
I think
All right,
everything
let me check
that
on
need
that.
to be grounded have the three.
Right.
Three prong, which is something that maybe we could use outside. I think most inside things just have.
Yeah,
two
two.
prongs. Yeah.
For CPAP,
I will check on that, I'm not sure.
Well, that should be.
Yeah,
It might not be needed.
yes, that's a good question, I'll check on that.
Now, if you bring an extension cord that has a 3-prong in it.
That's right,
That's
right, if
your
you're bringing a cord for your, so I will check on that.
Yeah, I've got
So
it.
sure that anything heated, though, like a curling iron might be a good prong.
Okay.
Is it heating around still now?
Yeah, like my,
You can use regular.
The ones that I use every day.
Anymore,
No.
they're usually two-tone.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, just because of the way they're designed.
yeah, but that's a good question, and I'm not sure, I'll find that out.
Tracy, have you ever had anybody ask for distilled water?
Yes, all the time.
Is it difficult to find?
It's not difficult to find, but we cannot, the tour manager.
Oh, I
nor
understand.
can- Yeah, I get that question a lot, can somebody please have distilled water in the room? But no, the tour
Oh, it's
manager will let you know
available.
where you can find
Find
it,
it.
especially in, Rainbow Bend. There's shops all around. It really isn't a big town at all, everything's within walking distance and lots of shops to get that kind of. And a lot of the hotels in the lobby will have, where you can go to the little area for aspirin, Band-Aids, and distilled water.
The water is so good there.
Right, so looking at the currency, now I was looking back at some emails that I sent, and I want to apologize, and I know it was one I sent to you. And I guess I was thinking Europe and euros. Iceland is in Europe, but they don't take euro or US dollars, they take the Icelandic krona. So, that is something that if you want to get currency before you go, if you are a AAA member, they will exchange currency. Check with your bank. I use Fifth Third in Mount Vernon, they have currency exchange. There are some Old National banks that do, but not all of them. I know, teacher credit unions, a lot of them do, but it's just a matter of checking, with your bank. Give yourself at least a week to get that. It's usually faster than that to get it. But this is a little bit unusual. Euros are super easy to get. Those are readily on hand. Icelandic kronas are not, so it's gonna take a little bit of extra time. looking at the conversion, and it could change by the time you go, but right now, $1 is equal to 138.85 Icelandic krona. So when numbers get like that, you know, $100 is 13,885. It's just like, okay, those are big numbers. So there are apps that do the conversion for you. So if something, as an example, something costs 100 Icelandic krona, that's only 72 cents. So, to give you an idea. But you can get currency exchange apps if you want to do that, or you can do, kind of do that with the calculator. That's what I always like
Nice
to do.
apps out for it too.
So
Yeah.
1 equals 130.
138.85 today.
Most everything I read said that they prefer credit card.
Yes, and so
So-
that's,
Is it your recommendation that we still need the krona for other things?
well, it's kind of like here, and it's becoming more prevalent here in the States where, if you don't, we own a bowling center in Mount Vernon, and for us to make any money on a charge, it has to be $10 or more. So smaller purchases, a lot of stores will say your purchase has to be over a certain amount. Some may not take them, if it's a smaller place, but for the most part, credit card is the safest, easiest way. I always like to have a little bit of cash. Now, you will use your credit card more here than you would say in other places. It's not like Italy or France where you have all these little side cafes and these things. You're really gonna be with the tour group, and when you stop to see a site, they will have an area for coffee, soup, sandwiches, that type of thing, and they are gonna take credit card. Typically I say for souvenirs and that type of thing to bring $300 worth of local currency. But in this case, no, that's gonna be too high unless you want to pay gratuities in local currency, which you don't have to. You can use US dollars. We'll talk about gratuities next. There are gonna be ATM machines. The hotel will do currency exchange. On most tours, I would say, yeah, you should probably have some currency on hand. But in this case, typically, everybody's gonna take credit card. Visa, MasterCard are the most common. Some places do not accept MasterCard, and some places do not accept American Express. So when you're looking at the credit cards to bring, don't bring all your credit cards, for safety's sake, in case that, your wallet gets lost, one or two. But if you want, I always try to get currency, but I always try to do that. When I went, I believe it was 2015, I did, just to have, but I didn't get a whole lot. So it's really your comfort level. If you know that you wanna have cash, you can get it at the airport. At the airport though, the exchange rate is much higher. It's gonna cost you more. The hotel at Reykjavik should be able to exchange currency. The one in Vik probably will not, because it's gonna be, it's more of a, again, you're out in a lodge type atmosphere more so than a hotel.
So the hotel will exchange US dollars for, or you have to use it, is it an ATM there?
The hotel, that I will verify that the ones in Reykjavik do, but no, it's not an ATM, it's just that they exchange it for you.
And cost-wise, is that?
So cost-wise, so say if you use your credit card, and some credit cards don't charge an international fee, some do. Typically that's,
But if you use
3 to
US
6%.
cash.
But if you use cash, it could be, 3 to 6%. And that's, you know, it could be 10% at the airport,
Mhm.
you know, because they got you, they know that you wanna have it taken place before
But
you.
there are ATMs in the airport, you can just get cash there with your.
If they have them, I can't speak to, you know, you could probably look up,
Yeah.
REF and see if they have those there, you know, and, or as to their location. Okay, anything else on currency? Credit cards? Okay, moving on to gratuities. So as we mentioned before, if Colette provides it, the gratuity is provided. With the exception of, the tour manager, the motor coach, and local guides. So the reason, they don't include those is because they want you to be 100% satisfied with your tour manager, with the driver, you know, was the tour manager organized, they took care of all the details, was the driver safe, did you feel comfortable? And then the local guides added insight. So you can use US dollars to pay for gratuities. You don't have to use local currency. What I like to do is I like to get an envelope with my gratuities included already. The first trip that I didn't do that, and the last day it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have gratuities for the tour manager or the driver the next day. Was in a foreign country. I had traveled by myself. I mean, I was with a group, but I was single occupancy. So I was out in Paris looking for an ATM last minute to get my gratuities together. And from that point on, I've always done an envelope system. Now, some people don't like to carry that cash with them in an envelope. For me, it's more convenient. I keep it in the safe. We'll talk about the safe here in a minute. But then that way I know that it is, I have it ready to go. So, $5 to $8 per person per day for the tour manager. So I take the number of days that I'm gone, multiply it by 8, the top amount, and then I put smaller bills in there so that, I haven't had this happen, but if you do happen to get a tour manager that you are not comfortable with, or you didn't think that they provided the service you needed, you can pull some of that back out, instead of having, big bills, you can, smaller bills are easier to work with. Same way with the motor coach driver, $3 to $5 per person per day that they're driving you. And on this itinerary, you will have the same motor coach for the entire time. So they may not be the person who picks you up at the airport, but they are going to be the one that takes you from Reykjavik to Vic and then back. And then the local guides add some insight. They may be with you a couple of hours, so $2 to $3 for their time. So if you are, your tour manager will let you know when there's going to be a step on the guide at all during this time to give you a little bit more insight about what you're seeing. And then they'll let you know that at the end of the time that they were with you. The tour manager knows a lot. You can tell by the name of the tour manager that I've given that they are local to Iceland. So they know Iceland very well. They know the history, they know the geology and the nature of Iceland. But sometimes, and especially in Europe, they actually require local guides to be licensed in a certain way, so there may be a local guide. But for the most part, your tour manager will provide most of the commentary and the information. And so I had mentioned putting your gratuities, if you don't want to leave them, just leave them out in the room, to put them in a safe. If you're leaving the room, there's a debate on whether bringing your passport with you or keeping it in the safe. You always need to have a copy of your passport with you. I like to keep it in my safe because I know that I put it in this pocket in my purse. Oh no, where it's at? Oh, it's actually put it here. If I know it's in my safe. So the question then is, what if I forget it in my safe? Well, the tour manager, when you leave hotels, typically say, does everybody get everything out of their safe? I have a toothbrush holder. You know, I brush my teeth morning and night. So I'm using my toothbrush twice, so I have a little container that I put it in, and I put it on top of the safe, so that when I go brush my teeth, oh, it's at the safe. You know, I brush my teeth and put it back. That reminds me, am I leaving today? No, I'm not leaving today. I don't have to pull it out of my safe today. Am I leaving today? Oh, yep, we're leaving. I need to pull everything out of my safe. You know, some people have mentioned putting a shoe up there, but for those of us that bring multiple shoes, if I put a shoe up there, I wouldn't realize that, you know, if I'm not wearing that pair of shoes today, it may not include with me. All right, any questions on gratuities? Okay, included features, we've already talked about that. Tour manager, you should be getting an email closer to tour time from your tour manager, Allure. They will reach out to you and provide you any information that they feel is important above and beyond what's in here. They also will provide your contact information, but here is the contact information for your tour manager as well. Email and phone number, this is provided. I didn't go in and, you know, secretly get this information and say here. They know that you have this information. And when it comes to phone numbers like this, you don't, you just dial the number they've provided here. The +354 in the United States, it's the +1. So you would just dial this number straight here. You don't have to figure out extra codes. We talked about the name badges, we talked about the local guides, read through the meals. We've talked about it being more expensive over there. The different kinds of foods, how it's not what you're gonna expect, what you get here. The water is safe to drink there. And I think if any of you had food allergies, you know, gut allergies, celiac disease or anything of that, you know, vegetarian, vegan, you've let me know. But if you're not sure and there's anything like that, then please let me know and we'll make sure that that is, that the tour manager is aware of that. Arrival day suggestions, you know, you're arriving early in the day, you're arriving a day early, so there's lots to see when you're in the area. There is a, it's called the Harpa Concert Hall, and it's not too far, and you'll be able to see it from the skyline. It is a magnificent building. It's beautiful during the day, but at night, if you look up Harpa Concert, so if you're there, you know, a night early, walk over there. It's lit up, geometric, and all the different lights. It's just a really interesting building, beautiful building. All right, time zone. 5 hours ahead of Eastern, which means 6 hours Central Time. Now, I don't know, Jasper, what you'll be on, yeah. So 5 to 6 hours, with the time change, it may be different, but that gives you kind of an idea if you do FaceTime or anything of that nature with people back home. Highest elevation is 600 feet, so not a lot of mountains and hills. It's a lot of flat, but very dynamic, interesting scenery. Local cuisine, I won't read through that. You know, this kind of gives you the information. We kind of touched on that, what it'll look like. You know, yeah, looking, you know, pickled herring, oatmeal, waffle station. So there's plenty to choose from, even if you are a particular eater. Shopping just kind of gives you an idea of what kinds of things are popular to bring home from the area. American Disabilities Act, it's not America, so it doesn't exist over there. You know, you're not traveling, in parts of Europe like, you know, that have ancient, you know, sidewalks, cobblestones, that type of thing. So it's not difficult, necessarily to get around, as it is in some of the older European cities. Smoking restrictions, non-smoking throughout. There will be designated areas at the hotel if you need those. Common words and phrases at the end. Ja, yes, I can do that. The others, you know, more power to you if you can pronounce some of these things. The tour manager will give you a lesson as well. But yeah, their system of pronunciation is different than even if you just look at it and you think you can pronounce it. It's completely different than that. And then your average temperatures, and as we discussed with that, Google is going to be your best indicator of what temperatures are actually like. So as I mentioned before, and I looked it up right before I came, what it is right now, it was like 46 of a high, 38 is a low. You know, a couple of weeks from now, it will probably be a little bit cooler than that. Okay, that's a lot of information. Are there any questions on anything?
Tracy, are you familiar with that new, thing called CBP NPC to get in through customs coming back into the US?
Yes.
It's a website, do you use
Oh,
it? Have you used it?
so is it like global entry?
No, it's not global
something
entry, it's
different.
just that you can get online and, kind of speed things up.
I'm not, but I will look it up.
CBP Mobile Passport Control App. Free app, downloaded from Apple. And they're just saying it helps, speed up the process.
I would try it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's any limitations to it. I'll look at it and then I'll send a link to anybody.
Okay.
You know, I have a list of a few things here to check
That's a
on,
picture I can text it to you.
that I'll just send everybody the answers to.
Do you have a list of the 12 people in our group?
I will email that. Yes, I do.
And maybe phone numbers? I know the last time we did a tour with you,
Yes.
we
I
all
will
traded pictures and stuff that
Yes,
way.
and I will check to make sure, I'll check with the others just to make sure. I mean, is everybody here okay to share phone numbers and you can share pictures and that type of thing? I'll reach out to the other three just to make sure, but I know that everybody was here, I'll at least do that.
These two won't care.
Okay.
Mary's good too.
Oh, Mary's good, okay, good deal. All right, thank you.
Jason knows no stranger.
Oh, you gotta lean in a little bit more, get your face in there.
See you guys soon.
So, yeah, I love that you're gonna meet up that way.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, we're here for questions afterwards. Call, email, and give me a couple days to get all of these, questions, answers to those questions, and then I'll send that to everybody by email.
It's nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
You off?
So the fact we're a day early, basically, we're still gonna have transportation, just like.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was a Schrader.
Yeah, everything's taken care of. It just, instead of having a larger group. Well, and I can't speak to that. There may be,
Okay.
there may be half of the rest of the tour that's going in early. I don't know.
I mean, these are, they're coming.
Yeah, so
But
yeah.
I don't know when they're landing.
Right, and so your transfer might be just the two of you, or there could be several other people, but they'll let you know, and that they're aware, they're looking for you.
You can have it already when we get there.
Yeah.
That's right. This is what you need to see. You have to try the hot dogs there.
Yeah.
I know if you don't like hot dogs, but they're famous for their hot dogs. They'll have hot dog stands all around. They're the long hot dogs, and you can get as much all the different things. So that's popular to try.
Yeah.
We just put something down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this way, yeah, 'cause I did keep this from passing